Welcome to the 5.3 Flip Classroom lesson on creating equivalent ratios. Hopefully this should be familiar to you because really all it is creating equivalent fractions. They're one and the same. So here's our real world problem. In planning for the upcoming regional girls tennis tournament, Coach McCarter looked at her player statistics from the previous 2 months, and they are as follows. Sarah won 7 matches and she lost 3. Sophie won 15 and lost 5. Grace won 12 and lost 6. And Cecilia won 8 and lost 2. So if I was Coach Carter and I needed to determine which player I wanted to represent my team in a tournament, I would need to look at not the comparison of games won to games lost. I really need to look at how many games they won compared to how many games they played total. So, as you can see, Sarah won 7 games because that's what they told us. There's 7 matches. That's what they told us. In order for me to determine how many total games she played, we would have to add the 7 won and the 3 lost to get a total of 10. So she won 7 out of the 10 matches that she played. So as a fraction, that would be 7/10. She won 7 and she played 10. Sophie won 15 and she played a total of 20 because she had 15 won and 5 lost. So that's 20. So 15/20. Grace won 12 and lost 6, so she played a total of 18. So 12 out of 18 was what she won. And then finally Cecilia played in 10 games and she won 8 of them. Kind of squeezed that one in there, sorry about that. So, in order for me to figure out who scored the best, I must create equivalent ratios to determine the best player. And I didn't leave myself enough room here. Equivalent ratios, like I said, are the same thing as equivalent fractions. So I need to see who has the greatest fraction, which is the greatest number of matches won compared to how many matches that were played. Forgot to add my parentheses there. So the second option, sorry about that. The second option is to convert my fractions into decimals and compare the decimals, because that again is a previously learned skill. Now, I can go back up here to my fractions and I can reduce some of these fractions down. So like 7/10, that can't be reduced, but 15/20 can be. I can divide both by 5, and that could be 3/4. I can divide 12 and 18 by 6, and that would get me 2/3. 8/10 I can, well, you know what? I'm going to leave 8/10 as it is. Because when we go down here, Sarah we know is 7/10, and that is, as a decimal, is 0.7. Because tenths is one of my place value fractions. Plus, it should be a fraction that you memorize, a benchmark fraction. Sophie had 15/20, which I can reduce that, which we already said, to 3/4. 3/4 is another benchmark fraction. That should be 0.75. Grace, we said, was 2/3 up at the top. Another benchmark fraction, 0.6 with the 6 repeating. And Cecilia was 8/10, and we know that 8/10 is 0.8, again, because of place values. So, if I were to stack and pack these, 0, whoops, boo-boo. Well, you couldn't see it anyway, so that's fine. 0.7 for Sarah, 0.75 for Sophie, 0.6 repeating, which really means 6/6, and 0.8. I'm going to stack them, fill them in with the zeros. Grab another pen so I can do that in a different color. So now they're filled in, and if I go from left to right, I can see that Cecilia had the highest decimal. So Cecilia, which you already have this written on your paper, should be, no you don't, should be chosen to attend the soccer tournament because she has the greatest chance of winning. And you're going to want to write down part to whole ratio as well. This is a part to whole ratio. We're going to talk about part to whole and part to part, but this is all part to whole. Now, the back of your page should look like this, and this is another example. She is mixing a sports drink for her players, and her players will need 24 quarts. Remember, underline keywords, they're going to need 24 quarts, and the different ratios are written down below. So you're going to want to write this by setting up two equivalent ratios. Two equivalent ratios and solving for the missing number. Two equivalent ratios solving for the missing number. We'll go over these problems tomorrow for your drill. Have a wonderful evening.